Hey guys, welcome back to another virtual science short. Today we're going to continue talking about our states of matter, but again, just focusing on one at a time. So we're actually going to be talking about gas, which is one of my favorite states of matter. No, not for that reason. Gas is going to be different from our other two states of matter, solid and liquid, again once we look at the molecules, those little pieces that make up all of our different pieces of matter. Now the way that those molecules are arranged in a gas are very special because they're pretty much not arranged at all. Gas molecules are going to do something called moving freely. That means they're not attached or connected at all. In a solid, they're really tightly packed together. In a liquid, there's a little bit of space, but they're still connected. In a gas, those molecules are going to be free moving, which means they're basically going to be going all over the place. And this is going to give our gases some special properties. Now, when we talk about gases, let's first talk about a few examples of gases. Now, can anyone think of any sort of gases that maybe you can find? Well, it might be a little bit tricky because if you're looking for any gases, you're going to have a very hard time finding it. That's because most of our gases are going to be invisible. And it's pretty easy to see why. Remember, those molecules are so tiny that we can't see them with just our eyes. And if those molecules aren't grouped together and they're just floating around and moving freely, it's very difficult for us to see most of our gases because we're just not going to be able to see those molecules. And one way we can actually see the gas is actually see how the gas affects it. Have you ever been outside on a windy day? Well, if you look, you can see the trees and the leaves blowing in the wind. Even though you can't see the gas, you know that the wind is blowing, and you might be able to feel the gas as well. But it's very hard for you to observe that gas because those molecules are so small. Now, sometimes you might get a few gases that you definitely can see. Like if you've ever boiled water on a stovetop, you can see the water vapor evaporating, right? It creates this really cool smoky look, and that's where you're able to see it, right? That's mostly due to the temperature of that gas because as it cools, you can actually see it a little bit less, but you can see a little bit of it as it's boiling. Another really cool gas that you can see is actually inside of this tube. This is something called bromine, and bromine at room temperature is a gas, but you can see that gas has a specific color. It's going to be this deep orange. Now, if we were to cool this down into a liquid, it would be a nice orange liquid. And if we continue to freeze it down, we can actually get a nice orange solid. So bromine is going to have that same orange color no matter what state of matter it is. It's just really cool to see it inside of this tube because then you can actually see some colored gases. Now, let's go ahead and talk about some other properties of gases. Now, just like we talked about the properties of a liquid, we can talk about the properties of a gas, right? Now, we said before when we were talking about liquids, we were trying to figure out what shape they are. Well, if you think about it, these gases are moving all over the place. Those molecules aren't really going anywhere. So do they have a specific shape? Well, not really if you're looking at it in the room. But there's a cool thing you can do to actually see the shape of a gas. Get something really common like a balloon. Now, if I were to exhale and blow air into this balloon, you'll see that will have a specific shape. Right? Now that I have the gas inside of this balloon, that gas is going to actually be the shape of the balloon, right? Those gases are pushing with that pressure on the edges of the balloon, and that's what gives it this kind of round shape. So the gas inside of this is kind of spherical and round. Now the same thing is true for the gas inside of this room. The gas is pretty much the shape of the room, right? And that's gonna apply for pretty much any container that you have that's gonna have a little bit of gas. It's just going to take the shape of this container, much like you'd find in a liquid. Now, the second property we're going to be talking about is volume. Just to remind you guys, volume is basically how much space a piece of matter is going to take up. Now, since we're talking about gases and those molecules are moving everywhere, it's kind of hard for us to figure out just how much gas is in any particular space. It's actually so difficult, we've created some really crazy math problems to try and figure out, and it's really hard to do. So usually we just go ahead and say that gases do not have a definite volume. As they move from place to place, their volume is going to always be changing because those molecules are always going to be in and out and switching places with each other. So very hard to find a definite volume. So no definite shape and no definite volume. And there you guys have it, all about our gases. Hopefully you guys learned a little bit about our gases. Take those properties that we talked about gas and compare them to the properties of liquids and solids, and you can really see the differences between our states of matter. Thank you guys for watching. My name's Christian. I'll see you guys next time.